You're listening to Across the Pondcast. Cybersecurity rants and war stories from both sides of the Atlantic.
Hello and welcome to Across the Pondcast, a show where we talk and occasionally rant about cybersecurity topics with perspectives from both sides of the Atlantic. I am Tib3rius. I'm joined, as always, by my lovely dim web journal scribbling co-host, Mr. Andy Swift. And today we're joined by the legendary Jack Rhysider, host of Darknet Diaries, arguably the greatest cybersecurity podcast in the world. Jack, we are absolutely thrilled and honored to have you here with us today. So welcome to our humble corner of the internet.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I feel very honored to be here. I remember meeting you for the first time, Tib3rius, at ShmooCon, and it was such a delight to see you there.
Yes, absolutely, yes. I mean, I assume I met you, Jack, because as anyone who has met you in public knows, you are well disguised at all times.
Yeah, it's true. I like to, I think the bigger I get, the more disguised I want to become. It's kind of strange like that.
And if you're watching the YouTube, you will see a very fiery Jack right now. So yeah, that's fun. A nice video filter for Jack today.
Yeah. I try to keep a private online persona. I think when I first started screwing around on YouTube, I was uploading some videos, and somebody liked a video and started commenting, "I'm your biggest fan," and I didn't see it, so they're like, "I'm your biggest fan. Can't you see me?" And I'm like, I still didn't see it. So then he was like, okay, where's this video filmed? Let's find out. There's like triangulation of like mountains in the background and stuff, and like figuring out where I filmed it, and then figuring out the address of that location, and looking up the public records, and then finding my name, and then finding where I work, and then emailing me at work, "I'm your biggest fan." And I'm like, what is this? So that was an early like lesson that's like, okay, don't put your real name on the internet when you're making content. And I'm glad I learned it quickly because I was able to start my show with all the buttons and latches in place without feeling too exposed.
Yeah, I thankfully haven't had that level of fandom.
I definitely haven't.
Thankful.
Just saying, I definitely haven't.
It's a good lesson, right? So you learn these things, and then you're like, okay, let's be private.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
That was a good
I remember seeing John Hammond at DEF CON last year, and he was literally, the guy could not take like 5 steps without someone like trying to take a picture or escorting him off somewhere. I was like, I kind of want to say hi to him because he's been on here and he does our intro thing. I was like, I kind of want to say hi to the guy, but he's like being mobbed right now by all these fanboys and girls. So like, I can't bring myself to do it. So. Yeah.
I'll introduce
He's
you
a great
next
guy.
year. Yes,
Yeah,
he is.
I said I'd get him a sandwich or something because he looked like he just hadn't been able to. He hadn't actually got to lunch because he just kept getting mobbed. Poor guy.
Yes. Well, so, Jack, for those unfamiliar with Jack Rhysider, the person, can you give us a little bit of your background, specifically pre-podcast era?
Yeah, so I got a degree in computer engineering, which teaches you a little bit about everything. I mean, it's like, here's a course on Python, here's a course on assembly language, here's a course on electronics and binary and logic and all kinds of stuff. And they operating systems and file types. And you get out of there and you're like, dude, I feel like I know a lot, but I don't really feel like I know much of anything.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of these strange things. So I floundered for a while, but then eventually figured out that I like networking. So I got my CCNA and got a job in the NOC, and then spent some time there, and somebody said, hey, do you want to do security engineer work? And I said, you had me at engineer. I don't really care what engineer work I do, but I like engineer. And so they put me on the security team. And honestly, that's where I realized that's my favorite place in the world, because it has that aspect of you need to know a little bit about everything. You need to know about how programming languages work, because often that's where the exploits are coming in. And you need to know about networking, and you need to know about operating systems, and you need to know about all these things. And so it felt like I was always in a game of Jeopardy, where just the most obscure questions are coming at you every day, and in this security engineering space. And I just felt so at home, because it was like the whole landscape of technology is just knocking on your door every day, and you had to come up with interesting ways to solve it. And so that was just working on Cisco firewalls and Juniper firewalls and checkpoint firewalls, and then looking at the logs and trying to make sense of the logs to find threats in there and such. And from there, we actually developed a SOC. So I was working for an MSSP, and we developed a security solution for a lot of customers to monitor their situation for threats in the network. And then while I'm doing that, I'm going to places like DEF CON and meetups and all these kind of things. And I'm hearing these stories, and it's just so fascinating to hear how people are totally pwning certain devices and stuff. And it's not quite exciting for my team. Like, they're just so focused on the logs and just securing. I was mostly like, set and forget kind of work that we were doing, because it's like, here's best practices. Let's apply it to the firewall and cross our fingers that there's nothing here that goes wrong. And we didn't really see that full picture of like, no, this is what a threat actor looks like. Here's how they get through. Here's how they do this sort of thing. I guess we weren't mature enough to get to that level, right? And so when I come from DEF CON, I'd be like, guys, there is so much more to this security thing, but nobody was really listening to me. And that's why I said, I think these stories need to like have a bigger audience. It's not just my team needs to see it. I think these things are relevant to the world. And that's when I started the podcast, Darknet Diaries.
Yeah, I mean, and we're grateful for it. Like, I'm a long time listener of Darknet Diaries. I absolutely love the podcast. Obviously, we wouldn't have you on if we didn't love the podcast, right? But yeah, I mean, trying to like segue into a nice follow-up question, because my follow-up question was what spawned the idea of creating the podcast, but you've answered that. There was a bunch of ideas, right? So there were people telling me, because I felt like I had this initiative at the time to teach more people more things, and the only people that knew that I was any good at security were my coworkers and my customers. And that's like a group of 20 people at the most. And so I'm like, I really wish I could teach more people how to do this, but then at the same time become more known in this space of like, I'm good at this stuff. And that's where I started doing things like blogging, and that was doing very well. Basically when you hit a problem at work and Google isn't helping you on the first to 10th page, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm like really off the map here trying to find a solution to this problem. That's a great blog post to make, right? Once you do find that solution, because maybe you call up support and you're like, hey, what's the problem here? And they say, well, here's this obscure command that nobody knows about. And you're like, oh my God, that totally solves it. And so these kind of blog posts were taken off. And then that was getting me that attention, right? That people that I don't know are now reaching out and saying, hey, can you help me troubleshoot my firewall? And I'm like, this is great. I'm getting practically job offers here. And so it was kind of those years of learning how to teach, learning how to explain concepts simply, and then also like wanting to expand and trying to get speaking engagements places. I was getting turned down everywhere, but I was really trying to branch out from just those are the small people that know me to now being known for having this skill set. And from there, that's when I think I started the show, and the show podcasts rarely take off like in a viral way, but it had the legs at the beginning that I knew that this was something that it could take me a long way. And so because I do a lot of things where I just throw a lot at the wall and I see what sticks. I'm shipping all the time. I'm just doing all kinds of random stuff. And the podcast I threw out there, and people really felt passionate about it just in the first 4 episodes. And I was like, that's great. I don't have a lot of listeners, but the few listeners I have love it, and they can't wait for the next episode. And I thought that's the special sauce right there, that they love it. And these are strangers I didn't know, so they weren't even trying to be friends with me, or they weren't just being nice. So that's the beginning days of it. And well, yeah, I mean, I think it's because it's very unique. Like there are quite a lot of podcasts. I mean, this is one, but a lot of podcasts are just 2 people talking. And it's usually about either a specific topic or it's about a news story that happened recently. Darknet Diaries has always been a different style. Like, I don't think there's any other podcast in cybersecurity like it. I think I've read an interview where you likened it to true crime. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's right. And I'm also somebody who wants to be, like, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I want to build something bigger than me and have a legacy that I've done something in the world. And so one of the marketing books I read was make your own category. Like whatever product you launch, make it specifically unique in this particular category and make it be the best there. And so my category was true crime meets cybercrime. Like there's no true cybercrime story podcasts out there. And so I'm gonna work on that. And little did I know there were at the time. I just didn't know until after I launched. And then I saw that there were other shows. And I was like, oh, gosh, I guess my show's not that unique. And I kind of quit even like, oh, well, the show's doing a better job than me because I was just beginning and I sucked. But as I listened to them, I was like, that's not the way that's not the take I have on that story. I would have totally presented this differently. And I realized that my voice is unique enough to still go on even if someone else covers that story. Because I think my goal has always been not to be like the most exclusive or the only one to cover these stories or the first one to cover the stories, but the best version of the story that you'll ever find. And that's been my goal. So with that kind of attitude of like true crime meets cybercrime and the best version of this story, that's what kind of drew me as my North Star for a long time.
I feel like cybersecurity people have a lot of really good stories as well as a community. We're not always the best at telling stories, though, I find with a lot of people. There's a lot of us that suck at storytelling, but there are some people with such cool stories. And I think our industry kind of lends itself to it almost, which is so cool. And I love reading anything like that where someone writes down like all the sort of war stories or war games. There was an English pen testing company years ago. We used to publish like a book annually of all the red teaming like engagements they did, like just the stories behind it. But they used to narrate it like an actual book. It was kind of cool. Yeah, they don't exist anymore, but it was kind of cool for the time it was in. But yeah, we've got such a good industry for that stuff. Yeah, definitely unique and definitely exciting.
The other thing I've noticed is that security people aren't very good at UI design, right? User interfaces. It's always real clunky.
No, we suck at that too. But no, thankfully AI is here to save our asses.
It's doing much better.
We just make a clunky back end and go, make pretty interface on front, go, make no mistakes. And it will just pretties all our crap up. It's incredible. What more do we need? But yeah, no, we've just suck at UI design.
But yeah, I fell in love with the stories. I think it's that human story as well. It's like, I don't even mind if it's like a person's first day on the job and then they're the one that handled the triage for like the most severe incident ever at that company. And they're just like, I had no idea what I was doing. And I'm like, this is great. I'm like glued to this. I want more popcorn and I just want to hear how you handled it because I don't necessarily want that opinion from the experts. I'm like, here's the best way to do it. Because that's like ivory tower. Here's what you should be doing. And I get these pitches all the time. I'm the expert in this area, and I'll tell you all about this. And I'm like, yeah, but have you ever tell me about the worst day of your life? That's what I want to hear. Have you ever actually had an incident that was catastrophic, and you got fired, and you lost millions of dollars at company or whatever because of it, and you learned so many lessons from it? That's the story I prefer than just telling me best practices and stuff, because that's where I think we can learn so much. It's not just like what you should be doing, but there's a lot of emotions you've got to handle too, and dealing with other people, because there's the whole dealing with grief when you're going through an incident, right? You're first denying, like, no, we're not being hacked, there's no way, and then you accept it, and you're just like, oh my God, it's my fault, I did it all wrong, and you're not like focused on getting things done, and you got to go through all these stages before you can finally go forward and get things going, and it's fascinating to me how us humans deal with these big situations. So I'm always asking those questions of like, how did you feel after all this and all that? And I love hearing all that.
In incident response, one of the weirdest things I tell people we have to deal with is giving people a virtual hug at the other end who have just had their lives fall apart in the palms of their hands overnight or something. They've just been hit by a massive ransomware attack. Everything's on fire, and like, the unseen part of a job, the technical sort of part you have to do for the forensics or reverse engineering, anything like that, it kind of comes second almost to the just calming the people the fuck down at the other end and getting them through the incident.
Yeah, I agree with that. As a security engineer, I think half my calls were simply, psychiatrist role stuff. Just tell me how you feel. Okay, go ahead. Oh yeah, you feel like it's the firewall's fault. I hear you. Yeah. Well, it could be, but I don't think it is.
It's annoying because half of like the incident response and forensics and like cybersecurity degrees don't deal with being a part-time psychologist as well to these people.
They don't.
Maybe they should.
Yeah, I think they should, because a lot of times, I mean, there's a lot of soft skills you got to learn as an engineer, but just hearing people, even if they're not describing the problem accurately. I tell you what, I have the craziest tech support calls with my dad because he doesn't even know the parts of the computer to tell me what's wrong. Like, Like he'll think the mouse is the problem, but it's really he didn't turn on the computer or something. You know, like there's just so many weird connections that he makes that thinks one thing is it, and so you when you go through even just a tech support role for a while, you really learn that the customer hardly can explain the problem properly half the time, right? And you have to like decipher what it is they're trying to say and little clues of what actually happened and stuff. But sometimes they're just upset and they don't really have a problem that you want to think you can solve. But it's fascinating to just go through the steps.
Did a fun training course a couple of weeks ago. This is part of my big stress from the last few weeks, was preparing for this training course. And one of the things I did was I recreated an incident that this particular organization had end to end. So anything from like the PDFs they dropped onto computers, like the malware that it installed, the C2 communication thing. So I mirrored everything. But the fun part of it was right at the beginning, I put like their initial emails and responses that they had spoken to me about on this Teams call beforehand, or they had emailed me in describing the incident. So part of the fun, like first bit of a course was like, can you work out what has gone on from this? And like this, it's just this incoherent, like couple of paragraphs of just absolute gibberish, some of it. Like just indicators of compromise randomly scattered about in any kind of order that made no sense whatsoever. So yeah, part of it is dealing with those sorts of situations, isn't it, right? We've got to almost disregard most of what they've told you and piece it together properly, bit by bit. But fun.
Yeah, so true.
It is a soft skill, a whole area of soft skills.
Yeah. Especially in pen testing too, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think that's why a lot of people in bug bounty have difficulty switching to pen testing. Like, part of the reason is in bug bounty, you're very separated from humans. And in pen testing, like, you got the, report writing and the readout call. And that's a very, like, I don't think many bug bounty hunters have got on a like video call with the developers who are really, really pissed off that you found various bugs in their application and are sort of almost shouting at you sometimes, and having to deal with that, having to sort of calm people down and explain things rationally is always sort of the part of pen testing people don't get to see, I think, until you're actually there.
It's almost the part you get judged on more, to be honest. A lot of the time, it's like your soft skills, your reporting skills. It's it's annoying because you could do like the most amazing technical piece in the middle of it, like the bit you like message your friends about, and you go, "Oh my god, I've just done." You've done it a few times to me actually, where you found an exciting vulnerability. You gone, "Oh my god, Swifty, look at this! I found a thing. It does this," and like those are the sorts of moments we like, but. For clients, it's often more about the soft skills, how you handle them, how you explain things, and how you take them through stuff. So yeah, crazy important. Incidentally, it's a reason a few people that I've seen have left pen testing as well, because they get fed up with dealing with the soft skills side of it, and they just want silence for a bit after that. Fed up with this client thing. I'm just going to go and like install racks in a data center or something. So people just leave me the fuck alone.
Well, I heard something from Leslie Carhart and Johnny Xmas once on stage where they said, if you can explain difficult concepts simply, there's a lot of money to be made there. And I didn't understand that when they said that, but after really focusing on my show and trying to break it down in simple ways that even I have 9-year-olds listening to my show and they're fascinated by it. And if they can understand what I'm saying, then I think that's, I've broken it down. I hate to dumb it down for kids. Like, that's not what my intention is. I want to talk to everyone like they're adults, but I don't want to leave anybody behind. And I think I dumb it down just enough. I don't even want to say the word dumb it down, but I break it down just enough that it doesn't bore the people who are technical and understand this and feel like this isn't for them. And so that combination of just delivering it right to the person in the way that they're ready to hear, it's very tricky because there's a big range of listeners as far as skill set goes. But I love trying to find that perfect path of like, I'll get a tiny bit technical just to tickle the technical people out there. And I'll break it down just a little bit just to catch up with the rest of the people. And I'll not go too far in either way.
That nicely segues into the question about the podcast. We're getting back on track. And that's because one thing that I really, really enjoy about Darknet Diaries is the way it's formatted. Because most of the time it is an interview, but you do this thing, you regularly have sort of your own narration. Like you cut away in like a TV show, it would be a cutaway, right? And you sort of narrate and highlight these key points of your guest story, which is kind of what you were talking about there. So that style was present like from the very beginning, because I did some research for this show. I did go back and listen to episode 1 of Darknet Diaries. So my question is, why do you think that works so well? Because it really does. It's really engaging.
Well, that was a style that I picked up from shows like This American Life, Radiolab, 99% Invisible, and other shows like that, where they interview someone and then they have some thought-provoking piece in between some of the things or glue the story together. And like Swift was saying, like a lot of people aren't good storytellers. So to me, it's just like, okay, that's where I'm going to bring that skill into this. I'm going to connect A to B in a way that makes a lot of sense and set up the stakes and then have the resolution and all these kind of things. And so the interview doesn't always go in that direction. Sometimes it's, I don't know, it doesn't quite lend to that. So that's where I come in and I fill in those gaps in order to give it that high production value and when it comes to storytelling, there is this tension and payoff kind of thing that you got to constantly be doing. I like to call that my operating system of choice these days is wetware, which is the brain. And that's what I'm focused on is I've got human listeners. And so human listeners have chemical responses in their brain when certain things happen. And I want to play around with those chemicals. Just listening to a show, you can feel dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin and all kinds of endorphins and things. And I can give that to you through my words. And when I learn how that happens and how powerful that is, I just felt like that's the system I'm going to focus on now. That's the hacks I'm going to be delivering, is like give you more of these magical chemicals in your brain. Because to me, that's fun. That's the value I want you to get out of it, is having a great experience through this, having endorphins from a cliffhanger and be like, I can't wait to hear what's next. And there's no way you turn it off in this spot, because it's like the best part. You just have to know what's happening and to let that simmer for a while, because those are great feelings to have in your head, and not just immediately give you the resolution, but to say, okay, but before we tell you that, let me back up and tell you one other thing real quick, because this is also important. And then you're like, no, I just want to hear what happens next. But you're just soaking in these wonderful chemicals. And that to me is like really important with the work I do, is that wetware, figuring out all the chemicals that are happening and how to do it. And that translates into just storytelling skills. And so that was something I didn't really know anything about when I first started, was any audio production or storytelling skills. And I read some books, and I even talked to some of the podcasters who I really liked that were great at that, to ask them how this is done and learn all their techniques. Like Out on the Wire, it was a great book that I learned a lot of this from. They'll do things like have a formula for every episode, where the formula is, this episode is about X, but Y happens instead. And if you just go after like, oh, okay, I broke into this network, done. That's not quite a high stakes story where things are happening, right? It's just straight to the point. But if you say, well, I really wanted to break into X, this network, but it all went wrong for the first 3 days. This happened and this happened and this happened. I couldn't do it because they had all these things in place. And now you're like, okay, this is really hard. And then on the last day, the last minute of the pen test or whatever, you got in through this wild, crazy hack, or something happened, and you were such under the gun of the time limit and all this kind of stuff. Like, you set up the stakes in this other way, then suddenly you've got a much better story in your hands. So it's all about framing that story as well. That is crucial to how the episode is going to unfold. So in that one, it might be like, the story is about pen testing into a network, but everything went wrong instead, and I had trouble getting in or something like that. That's not quite a great hook. A hook should be something that's just more fascinating to you just out the gate. Like, oh, wow, I want to hear how the rest of that goes. And so the book, that book gave me a tool like that to get started with, and a lot of other ways that I use chemical. Like, that's the thing, is the storytelling translates to chemicals in your brain, and that's the value I'm trying to give you.
I like that. Listening to an episode of Darknet Diaries is letting Jack Rhysider hack your brain. Basically, it's good. I like it.
Yeah, I'm giving you chemicals, and I like to call them, I think they're good chemicals. Like bad chemicals would be cortisol, adrenaline, maybe stuff like that, where you're just like, man, I'm so stressed out after listening to this. I don't want any more. Like, I don't like that. I like to give you the angel's cocktail, right? Of just wonderful chemicals that you can just be like, I want more of those chemicals. Those are great.
That's where we've been going wrong. People have been reporting far too many heart attacks following our podcast. We just got the chemicals all wrong. I told you, Tibbs. Damn it.
I think all podcasters should think about like what value they want to deliver to their audience. And it could be endorphins from laughter and such, right? So if you're trying to just make people laugh and stuff, that gets them endorphins, that makes them more relaxed and more happy throughout their day, right? So these translate into feelings and stuff. If you're trying to be educational, then that's something that you can, that doesn't quite equate to chemicals, but the idea is that's the value you're giving to someone, saying, hey, I'm trying to educate you on these sort of things. If I'm trying to be exciting for you because I've got a good story, then, these are the things I think a podcaster should focus on, is what is the value I want my listeners to get out of this. And that's kind of how I reverse engineered the whole process for me, is trying to figure out, okay, I want to increase their happiness and their mood and their focus, but also teaching them things. And I had a whole bunch of lists of things I was trying to accomplish.
Yeah, we don't have any of that.
But we are going to have a brainstorming session right after this podcast. That might just have chemicals written in the middle of this huge cloud. How do we get more chemicals? It's going to go weird.
I have heard feedback that people do like the rapport that we have, and that they find it very amusing. So, there we go. At least we make some people laugh. Maybe they're laughing at us.
Yeah.
But who cares?
Hey, there are many types of clown.
Oh goodness.
Well, I think you do good on educating people. I've seen some of the breakdowns you have of some of the stories and stuff, and I always learn something from it.
There you go.
That's good.
Oh, we can put. Oh, that's a quote. We can have a quote there.
Yeah.
Yeah, put it down.
Jack Rhysider, I learned things. It's a good quote, man. Oh.
I'm just looking at what's next on the list of stuff to ask.
I mean, so I'm just going to reveal show notes to us now, but I actually came up with some decent questions, and Swift's got "What's your favorite dog breed?" in there. So I mean, we'll do that one, because do you want to ask it, Swift?
Yeah. Do you know what, Tibbs? I will. It started off as a joke because we were like, we should write some serious questions in here. So I thought I'll just add these in. But yeah, speaking of things that make people happy. Something that made Ali Diamond very happy when she came on here was talking about her favourite dog breeds and dog shows and things. So Jack,
What doesn't work for everyone? It works for Ali, yes. Oh my gosh. Did Ali give you fashion advice too?
Yes, she did. She corrected Swift on pulling his shirt too much.
Yeah, I do this a lot, apparently.
Because I could bring you some fashion advice. I went through a trend lately, and I thought it was interesting, because I kind of went through some life transformations, and during that I was like, I need to reinvent my clothes. Like, this is getting stale. This is old. This is what I've been wearing for the last 20 years, and so I wanted to redo it. And I felt very intimidated at the store, being like, man, there are so many options. I don't know what colors work with me, or what shapes, and like, what's happening. But what I figured out was, my show is red, white, and black. It's got this theme, right? And so when I went to the store, I only picked out those three colors. It's either red, white, or black clothes, and only that. And I quickly learned that the red was a bit too much. So there was becoming a red accent, maybe just red shoelaces or a red bracelet or something like that, but not very much red. And so then that meant that my wardrobe was just black and white for a whole year. And this turned out to be really good, because this was very different than what I had been doing previously, which was wearing, conference shirts and cargo pants and just not trying very hard, just what felt comfortable. And so now I was like, okay, only white and black. And then that gave me this space to explore, because now when I'm going to the store, I'm only hunting for white or black clothes and nothing else. And then so I was trying on those things and felt, drawn to specific stuff here or there. And eventually I found a whole new style, which is in this white and black. And then that gave me the confidence to try yellow. And so then I went white, black, and yellow. And I tried just these 3 colors for a while. And again, that lasted like almost a year until I found blue jeans, which are blue, right? And then I was like, okay, let's try this. And so I feel like I've got a much better fashion sense now. But it was really by restricting what it was I was allowed to get for the longest time. And just focusing on those 2 colors, black and white, gave me like the confidence to be in those 2 colors. And for a while, that was my favorite color combination, just black and white. So it really matched up. I felt good in there. And so that's a long answer for Border Collie is my favorite kind of dog.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect
I like
punchline.
that. Yeah, I like that. It's good.
I love
Border
it.
Collies are great. And I also like the fashion tips as well. If there's anything, we don't get enough people coming on here talking about fashion and giving us fashion tips. I too am a fan of a black and white as well. But yeah, maybe I should throw yellow in as well. Who knows? What colours are we? We're sort of blue, aren't we? And red and white and...
Oh, yeah. Well, it's sort of the UK and US overarching colours of the flags, kind of.
Maybe I shouldn't dress myself in just flag colours.
I mean, the pond, the Atlantic Ocean, is kind of blue. So there you go. You've got that blue.
Yeah,
more of a greeny blue. Maybe we could go with that.
It's better than dressing myself in a flag and looking like I'm part of some kind of right-wing party of some sort.
If you have questions about it, I'd be happy to tell you A or B. If you hold up 2 shirts, I'll be like, all right, this one's good. Wear that one. Text me anytime.
I've got a whole new spin-off we can do tips.
Fashion tips with Jack.
Yeah, fashion tips with Jack for cybersecurity.
Well, I say it because Allie did want to start a fashion tips segment or something of her own, and I was like, oh, I'm excited about this. I want to hear all the things because she sees a lot of guys not making any effort and being like, you could look so good if you just did this 1 or 2 tweak. And for a long time, I don't think guys don't focus on this thing. They just don't care. And so when they do start caring, I like that there's resources out there.
Well, she has a side business for that. So
it's a whole business.
I think it's Builder SWE or something is her business. Yeah,
so I gotta check it out.
Yeah. She'll basically you pay her and she'll take you shopping in New York.
Wow.
And we'll find all the clothes that suit you.
Sounds like a very expensive day out.
The one piece of clothing she gave me is a fully covered ski mask with just 2 eyes and a mouth, the only opening, and it's just fully covered, and it says the Net Gala on it. But
I have that.
I'm like, Allie, where would I ever wear this? This is, of all the things to give me, I want to look cool, and this is not cool.
No, it was swag for the first Net Gala, I think.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Were you at that?
No, I didn't get a chance to go.
All right. I was going to say I didn't see you there, but then sometimes I won't see you because I think I swear to God I passed you once, and I was like, is that Jack? Because, you do manage to sort of blend in. I think it's because you cover up so many of your facial features. You're noticeable, but also kind of unnoticeable.
Yeah. So to give you context here is when I go to the conferences, hacker conferences, I will wear a total disguise where my hat is this giant hat and it's a big black hat, and then I'll wear dark sunglasses and I'll wear a bandana covering my face so you don't see any of my face whatsoever. And I'll even wear red, white, and black shoes to look on brand, right? Mm-hmm. So it's the black and white outfit with the red, white, and black shoes. So everything on me is just red, white, and black. And when I take that off, you can't tell it's me because it's just got so many layers to it. And so when I travel to these conferences, I'll even bring a second pair of shoes because people will recognize the red, white, and black shoes and be like, there he is. I see him at the airport. And when I'm trying to not be in disguise, so I'll take a totally different pair of shoes just to even blend in more. So I've got many layers of disguise when I'm traveling. But yes, it's very possible that I passed you by. I actually attend a fair number of conferences without my disguise, and I just don't tell anybody I'm there, and nobody knows I'm there, and it's kind of nice. So the DEF CON is the big one where I do come in as Jack, and tell everyone and meet a lot of people there, and it's a fantastic time.
Yeah, I love DEF CON as well. It is absolutely my favorite con. What made you decide to? I mean, I think you got into it before we've recorded the show, but what really made you decide to be so kind of anonymous, and how did you manage to keep it up?
I think the character arc of me is probably to blame there. So starting the show, I'm learning like, ooh, that's how ransomware gangs do it. That's a lot of money you're making. Okay. Oh, and that's how you got caught. And I was thinking like, man, am I going to like become a ransomware gang someday? Like I know all the tricks. I know how to not get caught. Like this could be how I end this show. It's just like, all right, I've learned enough, guys. I'm going off to do something else. But I'm too much of a rule follower for that. So I realized that, discovering these stories, and there's just data breach after data breach after data breach, and feeling daunted by it, like, oh my gosh, there's just really nothing you can do. Your data is just out there in so many ways. Eventually, I don't like feeling totally like, like I gave up. Like, okay, whatever. I like feeling empowered. I feel like, man, I wish, like, can't I come in and secure your company? And they're like, no, you can't come in and secure. Okay, well, I don't like giving you my data if you're not going to secure it and if I can't control it. And so eventually I realized, wait, I'm the knucklehead who gave them my data and then they let it breach. And so I learned I have a lot more control that I realized. I can make a fake name, a burner email, a burner phone number, a burner credit card, and give them that as like, here's my account. I'm making an account here. And I mean, we've all heard don't reuse passwords. And this is just taking it like 10 levels deeper. Don't reuse usernames. Don't reuse email addresses, don't reuse credit card numbers. So I do this for every single website I sign up to and have hundreds of email addresses and hundreds of credit cards and hundreds of everything just to manage this. And so this to me is like, okay, yep, there's a data breach, but that's fine. They have Joe Schmo as my information there, and that is not connected to any other account out there. And that's fine. You only have that one separated thing that isn't connected to my real world. And I think that's an acceptable trade-off of just like, I will feed you. I don't even know why you need my name or any of this other stuff because you don't need that for the service I need from you. Yet you're asking for it. And so I think that's almost like guerrilla privacy or guerrilla security, where I'm just going to lie like crazy to all these companies. And, funny stories come out of it. Like I ordered a guitar and I used a fake name. A fake credit card, not a fake credit card. It was a privacy card. So this is privacy.com allows you to connect your bank to them. I don't know if it works in the UK. I haven't checked there. But then they'll just say, oh, okay, we have access to your bank account. So we'll just give you as many credit cards as you want. They're virtual cards and they're tied to each vendor and you can use whatever name on there because it's like a gift card at that point. So basically they create gift cards based on your bank account and it's just all quick and automatic. It's really nice. And so I gave them a virtual credit card with some other name on it and made up a name for getting it delivered and had like a phone number that I used or that I created just for that, a VoIP number. And so they were like, yeah, we have a problem with the billing here. Can we have a call? And I said, yeah. And they're like, who am I talking to? And I'm like, oh, gosh, well, I'm the guy who ordered this. And they're like, yeah, but what's your name? I'm like, wait, let me look up what the name is on this order. Okay, yeah, I'm Joe Schmo. And they're like, okay, well, who's this other guy that's like on the billing address? I'm like, well, you don't need a billing address. You just it's a gift card, right? I paid for it with a gift card, basically. So why do you need a billing address? Yeah, but because the billing name and the shipping name doesn't match, we can't send it. Like our billing department doesn't like this. They think it's fraud. I'm like, it's not fraud. You've already charged my card. You've already taken the money out of my bank account. So send me the guitar. They're like, well, this has to match before we'll send you the guitar. I'm like, yeah, fine, match it. Just change whatever you need to change on your end. And so I've had some crazy experiences there.
Yeah. See, that's like, that is like 10 levels beyond using a different password. Has there ever been like a point where you've like not bought something because that's been too difficult to maintain?
Yeah, I'm sure I have, where I just didn't want to dox myself in the process. And yeah, I mean, I have mailboxes set up in different states across the country that I'll send things to, and they'll just like take a picture of it and send it to me if I need just a letter or something like that, right? So I have quite a lot of ways to get stuff. I'll send it to a friend's address or an abandoned house sometimes.
Yeah, because I feel like whenever I do, like, I'm obviously, quite a private person as well. Like, it's getting to the point where, like, there's more people who know my name than don't, because I've worked at so many different companies in the industry. But, online, most people know me as Tib3rius. A fair few people know who I am. And so I get the whole privacy thing. And I've tried various, not to the level that you do it, Jack, but, like, I've tried various sort of combinations of emails and, plus addressing and privacy, credit cards and stuff. And for me, just like it gets to a point where it's just like I just get tired of it because it's so hard to maintain. Yeah. So like massive respect for you to keep doing it. It's just I feel like that for a lot of people, it's like you get fatigue just trying to maintain any kind of privacy on the internet these days.
Yeah, but it's like health and fitness and food and stuff. Like if you just go from like a crappy diet to be like I'm just gonna have fruits and vegetables or whatever. That's going to be too hard on day one. And so you need to improve it by 10% and then another 10%, another 10%. And you just keep going down the line until you're at a place where you're like, I'm taking all the important steps that everyone tells me, but now I want to optimize. And now you're like getting into elite level and health and fitness where you're getting a personal trainer to spot you on to coach you on every move and taking it to the next level and maybe a private chef to make sure that all the calories you eat are exactly what you want for the day or something like that. Like that is too hard for most people because it's ridiculous amount of effort. But it's not too hard if you've spent 5 or 10 years working your way up to that. And so that's I think that's where I'm at is like I've taken it to an extreme level because every few months or so I'm just like, what more can I do? What more can I do? But I only take steps at a time. I don't take leaps. And so when you switch from whatever phone to graphene, and that's what I'm running is graphene, you see like, okay, there's a lot of Google services that don't work here, like Google Pay won't work. And a lot of other things like maybe Find My Device doesn't work because Google has a way to track and backups don't work and all these kind of things. And you're like, oh my gosh, I've got to take all these steps to come up with new solutions for how to use my phone because there's a lot of these apps that don't work. And then you figure it out. And then after like 6 months or a year of going without that stuff, you kind of forget that even existed, that you could pay with your phone because you've got all these other alternative ways to do things. And so you get used to, sacrifices or trade-offs after a while. And you grew up in a time where computers weren't always that easy when we were kids, right? And it took a lot of finicking and tinkering to get it just to get online or to print something. And so I think we've got to the age now where all this stuff is just so easily user-friendly and stuff that you're just like, yeah, look at this. There's one button on my phone and I can just tap it and instant backups. But back in the day, we didn't have that. We were backing up our stuff, on hard drives and things. So it's just a matter of like, you know what? I was trained for this. I know how to back up my photos. I don't need Google. Thank you.
I think that's the privacy thing. That's where they get a lot of people, isn't it? It's just the majority of people just can't be bothered. It's like they want to use the services and like a lot of the services these devices and systems are putting out now are useful for people. And they're just useful in day-to-day life to make tasks easier, like paying for stuff with your phone, paying for stuff with your watch even. It's like, do we need it? No, we've had money and stuff for a long time and we can just use cards and things. But I think it's a lot about building your process out, isn't it? And humans are very process-driven. We like process, we like routines and things like that. And once you build a process around being a private person or taking privacy very, very seriously, I guess it becomes quite a quick process. But for the majority of people, that's a lot of effort, and a lot of people just can't be bothered. It's easier just to pay with Google on your phone, and don't care about the rest of it.
It's true. There is a lot of effort with some of the steps I'm taking, but then there's some low effort steps that I think people can do, which just has a big impact. Like I use Brave browser.
Yes, big fan of that.
And the reason I do that is because they are very strict on like not collecting data on me. If you are on Chrome and you just type in like, does Jack Rhysider, and then you like delete it out of like the address bar in Chrome and you're like, yeah, you know what? I don't even want to ask that. Then suddenly Google, the whole time that you're asking it, it's trying to, complete the sentence, and all the letters that you're typing are going to Google, and of course Google is saving that. So Google knows that you're asking questions about Jack Rhysider, without even hitting enter. You back it up, you deleted it, and you didn't even ask it, and it still knows these things. Yeah. And so just the amount of data that's being collected in your browser is crazy. And that's just the address bar. All the places you go to and stuff. I mean, Google even has, if you have an Android phone and you start typing things in the keyboard, there's a keylogger going on there where it's collecting what keystrokes you're typing in order to try to correct words and finish sentences and all that sort of stuff. Like it's got a good intention, but my gosh, you're keylogging me. and so I use the Futo keyboard because Futo doesn't do that. And you could, it still has autocorrect, but it doesn't send it anywhere. And I met with that team to like verify that you guys are really good. Yeah, okay, we're really good. So they have like a good intention there. So, I mean, just replacing your keyboard or replacing your browser is a one-time step. And to me, it's just this, okay, I'm 1% more private today. I'm 1% more private. And you just keep making these steps and you do better all the time.
I'm a big fan of Brave browser recently. Just recently,
yeah,
I hadn't ventured into it, but there were some websites that were pissing me off recently, quite frankly. I'm a Formula One fan. I like my Formula One, but there's some websites out there that I like to go to for my news about Formula One, and like you can't scroll through anything without like 1,000,001 things being in the way of the article you're trying to read. And it'll be adverts, it'll be loggers, it'll be everything you can imagine. And then you go and visit the same website in Brave. None of the shit. Like nothing nothing here filtered out. Like the little ad blocker it's got is going mental in the background. It's like ding, 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 ding. But yeah, just browsing around for that. Just give it like 10 minutes to 30 minutes or something of using it. Give it the time and just have a look at the stats it pulls out on all the stuff it's blocked. It's astonishing.
Yeah.
Really astonishing. But the internet is a cesspit these days. Let's be honest.
I'll have to try Brave. Yeah. I use LibreWolf, which is Firefox clone, but all the AI and like telemetry stuff yanked out. So it sounds quite similar, but I'll have to give Brave a try. I really have been meaning to. It's just LibreWolf works for me. So,
are you running Linux over there?
No. I unfortunately still use Windows because gaming.
Okay.
And it's just I have VMs. I have Linux VMs. I do work a lot within a Linux VM. But for me, it's like it's easier. Again, it all comes down to easier, right? Like privacy's hard. Using Linux as a daily driver, if you're a person who likes video games, it just made more sense to use Windows for me. But like I also have a Mac, and I find Macs quite good for work as well. Apple is weird because they're like midway between sort of like the Android level of privacy and what phone was it used again? The
Graphene.
Graphene, that's it. Right? They're kind of like between that, aren't they? Because Apple like do good things with privacy, but they're not the most. They're not the best. Is my experience anyway. I think they have a lot of privacy features built in.
Yeah, I agree that Apple's does pretty good with their iOS phones and stuff. There's the lockdown feature on there has been challenged a few times by the FBI to try to get into a phone with a lockdown mode on, and they can't get into it. So it's really nice to see that happening, right? I think I was on X the other day, and they're like, we've got end-to-end encrypted DMs. And I'm like, tell me the story when the FBI comes and says, we want to see a DM, and you showed them, no, I can't do that because it's impossible. Until then, I don't believe your DMs are completely end-to-end encrypted. I think you're controlling the keys, and you might have a mechanism in order to see it still somehow. And so that's the to me the litmus test is, did the FBI get into your phone? No, they couldn't. All right, lockdown mode sounds good to me, right?
Yeah. There was recently though, it wasn't getting into the phone. The FBI already had got into the phone, but I guess somebody had deleted the app they were using to do whatever illegal thing they were doing. But the notifications that were coming from that app were still stored in an internal database on the phone. Right. And that's how the FBI got them, was that the notifications revealed enough about whatever crime they were doing. I don't even remember what crime it was.
Yeah, it was Signal. It was a Signal messages, right? So you've heard this, conspiracy theories. Like, I got my Signal hacked and all that kind of stuff. People reading my Signal messages. And there's not a lot of truth to that, but things that do happen are the notifications within the phone get logged, and those will show the message in there, right? And so, yeah, that's not quite Signal getting hacked. It's the iPhone giving too much information and logging too much stuff. And I think this is the endless problem we have of securing ourselves and defending personal stuff is our data can be leaked in ways that we don't know. And I think that's very important because we don't know what data is collected on us. And I don't think we consented to a lot of this stuff, even though we say yes, accept the terms of use or whatever. We don't know the level of data collection and then how that data is passed over to governments and stuff. Because, if in the United States, we have something called a third-party doctrine that if you give your data to a third party, you no longer have a reasonable expectation of privacy. And so the government can ask for that data from another company without issuing a warrant. And we don't even know what companies are collecting data on us, and we don't know what our government is asking for in those data. So to me, I'm always trying to button up that data to make sure it doesn't get out and trying to take back that control because, again, I don't like feeling hopeless in this world. I like feeling empowered and just coming up with ways to be like, no, I can control my data. But my gosh, is it hard because it is just leaking everywhere. I read recently, like, in Jabber, you can turn on end-to-end encryption with using like the OTR plugin. I think that might be a little dated now, but that was what used to be done. But I didn't know that using that, it still doesn't encrypt the attachments. And so even though your messages are end-to-end encrypted, the attachments are. So you feel like it's secure and you can start sending things, but it's not. And that's how the FBI was able to catch someone. I was reading that story. And so you don't even realize like, oh my gosh, I thought it was this and it wasn't. And it's really hard to not let your data get leaked, and even if you try really hard. But I think it's important because if you improve your privacy by 40 or 60%, that is worth doing as opposed to being like, yeah, my data is still going to leak and there's nothing I can do about it. No, I think that's a bad attitude. I think it's still important to work at it. I always say in the security world, like it's not about becoming perfectly secure, but it's about being more secure than the other person because they're going to go after them probably more than you. It's the story about running a bear. You don't need to be faster than the bear. You just need to be out faster than your friend who's also getting chased by the bear. and so they get attacked and not you, right? Yeah.
I like that analogy. That's good.
I feel like people's private approach to their own personal data sort of leaks through to their workplace privacy of like client data and things as well these days. I mean, people get so sort of sucked up into it's okay to give everyone your data and it's just ease of access, etc., etc. And I have to remind people sometimes that, like pen testers and things, that client data is client data. It's got to be protected, and especially when we're in this world of like using LLMs for everything now. They're just asking that question: where is client data going? And just I feel like that sort of lax approach to privacy that we've all sort of walked and waded into has sort of found its way into the like our workplace a little bit in cybersecurity. I fear it's going to get a little bit worse. I hope not, though. But
yeah, I think things like OpenClaw that gets full access to your computer, that's pretty much bypassing all of the encryption that you have on your computer, where it's only you and the recipient should be able to see this message. Now, OpenClaw can read anything on your computer, every message, every email, and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, that's a real scary situation when you're trying real hard to button everything up, and then suddenly there's this tool that you're not exactly sure how much it's connected to the internet and who's in there and all that sort of thing, because it does feel kind of sentient and like this thing's alive. Yeah, it's really wild, and so I really hesitate on a lot of these things. But I think with privacy, it kind of feels like the innovation kind of lags by about a year and a half or so. And so when something comes out and it's really cool and you're like, wow, I like this new thing, but it's not very private, in about a year and a half, there'll probably be a private version of it or a local version or something like that. I mean, just with LLMs, you don't like feeding it to the cloud, but you've got a local LLM that you can run. And now you don't worry about any of your data getting out that you're asking it. And so I'm okay with that kind of year and a half lag because I'm not always like an early adopter to things that I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that was out. Oh, let's see if there's a privacy version. Oh, yeah, there is. Okay, great.
We mentioned that the other day. We were talking on WhatsApp or something like that about having like our own local LLM somewhere instead of burning credits in place. We got space in our data centers, so you might as well use it. We'll just fill it with a bunch of servers. We'll just have our own massive like private LLM. It's the only way to go, maybe. Okay. I don't have a segue into another question.
Do you want to ask another question? I feel like I've asked a lot of questions.
Do you know what? I would like to, it's not going to be about dogs this time, Jack. So,
I don't know what you're going to ask. This is wild. I'm excited though.
no, I'm not going to ask him that one.
What's your favorite cat?
Jeez.
It's a tabby for me. Yeah. Right. Throughout, like looking back through the back catalogue of Darknet Diaries episodes and subjects, you've been there covering stuff for literally. I've got the list here. Like literally every major turning point in cybersecurity history. Like stuff me and Tibsy have lived through times, like Stuxnet, the origins of RockU, been there. You covered that. That's a thing of legend amongst our industry these days. And the Shadow Brokers, Petya, Conficker, WannaCry. Oh my God, WannaCry. Yeah. I remember some hilarious tests when WannaCry was kicking off that we did. But I just, like been there for all of these things. Like these major landmarks that people just hear about. Like people refer to things like RockU as just like, oh yeah, just use the RockU lists. Half the people referring to that don't know where that came from these days. It was, to give that to perspective, that was in 2009, wasn't it? Yeah, 2009. So have you got any highlights throughout that time? What's been your favourite? Is the first part of this question. I've got a follow-up after it, but do you have a favourite?
Yeah, RockU is actually interesting because I didn't really put those pieces together when I started it. I thought it was just a company called RockU. And it wasn't until like I finished the episode, I was like, wait, is this any connection to that password list that everyone uses when they're brute forcing passwords? And I really couldn't find a strong connection. And that's when I was talking to Troy Hunt, trying to say like, do you think, because this was before he started Have I Been Pwned? And he's like, yeah, I think you've got something there. And he had a hard time even coming up with it. But yeah, after researching it more, I was like, oh my gosh, this is where the password list came from. I mean, I think it was a mashup between the RockU database breach and some others, but it was just fascinating to have discovered that, because I think that somehow got lost in the annals of cybersecurity. We didn't know exactly where. Like that list just appeared and then it became de facto and it didn't really get talked about, like how it showed up, and people forgot about RockU data breach or something. So that was just a fun discovery, because I was like, wow, that was kind of an accident. But I think the one that was as far as big events of our life that really fascinated me was the Pirate Bay episode, because I think a lot of these are like, yeah, you know what, I've heard that as well. Let's just go through it because that's a big story and might as well do it. But and I felt that way about Pirate Bay, like, yeah, okay, Pirate Bay, let's cover that. But then when I talked to the guy Peter from Pirate Bay, who started it, one of the co-founders, the way his brain works was just unlike anything I've ever heard before. Like when he got arrested, he was like, what if I start a political party? Then I could seek asylum and I won't go to jail. And he does. He starts the pirate party, and then that didn't quite work. So then he's like, what if I start a religion, the pirate party religion or something like that, and then I could seek a religious asylum or something like that. So he tried to just exploit all these loopholes, and then the whole time after being arrested and put to jail and stuff, the Pirate Bay is still online, and he's like, yeah, why should we take it down? Like we made it so resilient that it could last while we were in jail, and all this sort of thing, and it hit it, and then it made this thing where now you'd have to go to ICANN to get it taken down, and all these extra steps and this sort of thing. And then they were fighting for it back and changing domain names. And it was just such a battle that I hadn't heard all these insider details before. And he honestly just like made me look at the whole world differently. And I thought that was such a fun discussion with him. So that's the Pirate Bay episode. I don't know if it's 91 or something like that.
I can tell you.
And the Pirate Bay is still online. Like, that's the craziest thing. Like, they tried. I remember. I think I was in high school when they tried to take it down the first time, and like, it's still up. Like,
yeah.
God, I'm not going to reveal my age, but a long time later, it's still up.
Yeah, I mean, they've tried everything to keep it up, right? They've tried to create their own country called Sealand, which I think is in the English Channel. It's this tiny little platform, and it's its own country. And they're like, what if we buy the country and then just have our own country, and no one can come, prosecute us in our country? We'll make laws that say keep out.
Nice.
And then I think they tried to host it in space and maybe North Korea at some point, like just hide the servers in places nobody could ever get to. And then it becomes completely resilient. And I love this kind of attitude. And it brings into the question of like, what do we really own on the internet? Do we own our domain? No, because somebody can come and take it down. They can go to ICANN. They can go to the hosting provider. They can get it ripped down. They can even, these guys even had their BGP routes rerouted and DNS servers rerouted because, DNS is a global thing. So if they're like, look, you can't resolve piratebay.org, so take that down, DNS providers, and they have to, comply. That's wild. That, none of this stuff is really in our control. And so the only thing I think is, this is what draws me to things like the Darknet, Tor, and Bitcoin, because on the Darknet, the onion domains that you register are created by yourself. You create the private key, and then that derives the public key, and then that public key is the web address. And so you don't go to a registrar to create an onion address, you create it yourself. And that is fascinating. So now you don't have any like third-party person. Because you have the key, you're the one that can actually serve this content. And then that's on your own servers as well, which is much harder to discover. But that's the same thing with Bitcoin. You create the private key, which then creates the public key. And you don't have to go through some place to give you a wallet. You make it yourself. And that gives you like full custody of these things. And I love this idea of just like exploring ownership on the internet. And again, this is like something that came out of the Pirate Bay episode where I'm like, what do we even own anymore? Everything's digital. Do I own any of this stuff? And so these are the things that I think we actually own is a Bitcoin wallet and a Tor address. And not much more after that when it comes to online assets.
That's such an interesting concept, isn't it? We own nothing.
Because even my Twitter account, that could be taken down. That can be ripped out of my hands.
Well, that's getting done a lot of the moment. I hear a lot of cybersecurity creators are getting blocked for mentioning CVE numbers. Great. Wow. Yeah, amazing. Episode 92, by the way, Pirate Bay. 92. You're one out. But that's incredible for you to... What episode are you on to now? What number?
174.
There you go. To be fair, knowing the number of an episode that was like 100 odd episodes ago is pretty damn impressive, to be fair. I can't even remember what we recorded last week. So
I believe this is either prophetic or it's going to be a failure, but I believe this is episode 40.
We'll leave it in just in case it is.
Yeah. That's the great thing about editing. I can take it out if I'm wrong.
Don't worry, I'll let the world know.
Or dub over. I'll just dub over myself.
Yeah. It's a completely different tone as well, so it's totally obvious.
You said you had a follow-up.
Yeah, I do. So there's a follow-up to the stories about your favourite story of all time. I feel so. This is my fear. I feel sometimes like we've lived through the golden age of cybersecurity, if you like, of cybersecurity storytelling. Like there's been so many cool, interesting things happened in the past. My worry is it's dying down a little bit, and the advent of things like AI, LLMs, is it going to die out a little bit more? Are we going to get further away from that golden age of probably about 10 to 15 years ago? Of that sort of, it was kind of a lot more discovery going on back then, wasn't it? A little bit rough around the edges. I feel cybersecurity now is just such a almost polished area, but it's becoming, I don't know. I feel like there's just less stories around. What do you think? What's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years? What do you think's going to happen?
You say you worry about this, but I think it's great news because I had an April Fool's joke once that said, you know what? Everyone patch their servers. I've got no more stories for you guys. I'm done. And that's never going to be the case. We are always going to have, I think it comes faster now than ever. Ransomware is still on the rise. It's hitting worse places like schools and hospitals more than it ever has. And I don't see any slowdown in lack of stories here. It just keeps coming. And when you get this level of sophistication, I mean, my mind's still boggled about the Hezbollah pagers. Like, that's so incredible that they were able to sneak this stuff in and infiltrate it and get the into the manufacturing process and all this sort of, I'm just amazed by this. And so I'm one of these person that don't jump on a story as soon as it comes out, but I wait like 5 years before we get all the answers. And I hope one day I can cover that, because I might get someone who can talk about it, because the amount of time that someone can spend on getting something done is incredible. Like nation state actors, like they'll spend 5 or 10 years without even worrying about it, and just to do something at some point, maybe in the future, right? So yeah, I see the sophistication still ramping up, but there's this hope. I'm optimist that these chat bots like Mythos that says that it can find tons of bugs in old legacy things that nobody's ever seen before, that are like 20-year-old bugs, and it's just like finding one after another or whatever. I hope that tools like that can eventually come right into our compilers when we're coding a program. Just like, hey, Mythos, tell me if I've got bugs in my code. Okay, cool. I've got no bugs. And that is fantastic. I mean, I'm hoping that AI can solve a lot of security problems. Every time I hear Copilot, I always hope, okay, you're co-piloting me on making sure my code is safe, right? And it's like, no, I'm doing other things. I'm helping you write more code, but not making it safe. And I'm like, gosh, that's all I need. Step 1, just make sure I don't make any blunders when I'm publishing this code. The Copilot, that's what I need, because a lot of time, I think at the beginning it was coming out of GitHub and stuff, but now Copilot is all over Microsoft. I think everything AI is just called Copilot, and it's like 30 different things. But at the beginning, that's what I was hoping. And that's what I still hope, is that it just becomes into the SDLC, this software development lifecycle, of include the latest, greatest models to make sure you're not doing anything terrible. And at the same time, look at how many logs we can ingest. I mean, if you're just ingesting syslogs, that's one thing, but then there are DNS logs, and there's NetFlow traffic and all this kind of stuff. No human can read this fast enough. And so if you had AI to just parse all of the network traffic going in and out of your network, well, suddenly it's going to be finding patterns and anomalies and stuff that the human can never do. And not just by rules-based, but like much more advanced than that. So I think there's hope as well there, is just detecting things when they do happen immediately in ways that we could never do as humans.
Yeah. I think the real test of Mythos is going to be pointing it at Swift's code, because he's notoriously the worst programmer I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh.
You are basing this off this one interaction we had about 15 years ago.
Yes.
And I love that you think I haven't learned anything. I probably haven't. But yeah, I love that you think I have not learned anything since. I'm still that idiot programmer who nests while loops within while loops. Mythos will
10 layers of while loops. It was crazy.
Mythos will just get bored, if I'm honest. What the fuck is it? I've tried to follow it. I just can't. I've just been going in circles for the last half hour. I give up. I hope that's what its answer is. But yeah, that'll be the acid test. Give it to me, I'll break it.
So this might be a tough question.
What's your favourite color?
What's your favourite cat? No. Do you have an end goal for the podcast? Like a point where you think you'll step back and say, that's enough? Or do you think you're going to just keep going until you find yourself running out of stories you want to tell?
That's a great question. I love thinking about my legacy of like, what do I leave behind? And recently I read a book by Bruce Sterling, and Bruce Sterling was kind of a big deal. He was a big deal back in the 80s, 90s. Like, he was in all these hacker circles. He was going to these conferences and these meetups and knew all these people personally, and was basically the rock star of covering these stories. And he's dated at this point, right? And his books are slowly slipping into history and less relevant today. And I was just thinking about that, like, wow, is my stuff just going to slip into history like that, or it's just going to age at some point? It's no longer going to be relevant. And yeah, probably. But and so I kind of want to do something bigger. And I've got a lot of ideas in mind of just like, how can I think if I back up and I just look at some of the goals I have, I think my favorite thing to do is teach people things, but not in the sense of like a teacher, but more of like a guide. Instead of like here is the operating system, how to work this operating system and how to code this thing. Like that's too instructional. I like the idea of like taking you up on a mountain and saying, look at this great view. Isn't this amazing? And then you're like, wow, I had no idea this was right here. Can you show me more crazy things in the world that I had no idea? And so this discovery of the world is like my favorite thing to give someone, where they are just like, I had no idea there's, like, so many people have told me they didn't know that there was a professional pen testing world out there. And now they just like quit their job as a mechanic or a painter or whatever and went right into cybersecurity because they want to be a pen tester. They love the idea of breaking into buildings and seeing what they can do. It just sounds like the funnest thing in the world. And I love it. I'm not teaching pen testing, obviously, but I'm teaching people that this exists, and I want to get them excited about that. And so if I back up to that even more, then that's just like giving people empowerment and showing them what they could do with their lives and giving them encouragement. And yeah, the empowerment is, I think, is the key word there. I like to encourage people to do amazing things and to find their potential. I think that's the biggest thing, is like you could possibly rise up a certain height in your life and be this amazing person, but instead you're way down here and you haven't tried to go fulfill your potential. Like, what's the highest rank you can get in whatever it is you want to get in? I would love to see that. I want to see your top performance of your life. And some people are just, they have so much stuff that's holding them back or whatever. And I almost feel like stepping into those roles and be like, let's shed that. Let's talk about philosophy. Let's talk about taking care of yourself and all these other things, to shed that stuff, to get up to your potential. Because I've had so much fun doing that sort of thing in this lens of just cybersecurity that I think there might be a bigger role for it there somewhere. So it would be fun to expand on that. I think it's really important to, I think, especially as we go into the future here, where AI is going to be more and more controlling us, not so much like as we're robots or whatever, but like algorithms to keep our attention there, and to give us songs that are perfectly made for exactly what we want to hear, and maybe even movies that are just made. Like, imagine an electrode in your brain that has like a chemical receptor, and it's like, I'll show you a picture, and if you like this, I'll show you more pictures like that. And we'll even make a whole movie just made just for you. And as your dopamine and endorphins change, then, we'll guide the movie to different ways that it ends and stuff like that, because not everyone likes the same movie. And I think there might be a future like that, right? And in that case, you're suddenly a lot less agentic yourself, because now you're just like, let me just jump into the Matrix and let the Matrix give me all my information and all my entertainment and everything. And I think that it's important for us to have a bigger, fuller control of ourselves and understand ourselves better. It's, in my opinion, maybe one of the most important things in the world, to understand yourself and have control of yourself and these sort of things. Because if AI knows us better than we know ourselves, then it could have that potential of taking control of us. And so I kind of want to be the last cohort to be controlled by AI, even though I love all the cool things that it does. It's one of those things that I'm doing a lot of, like, meditation and focus and journaling and stuff, to make sure I understand what it is my true self is and what my ideas are, and not be coerced into thinking, oh yeah, that's my idea, when really it's not. It was just fed to me subliminally in the last 6 months.
Nice.
I love that.
That's so philosophical.
That's a great answer.
It's much better.
I like philosophy.
It was a good question, to be fair, compared to the what's your favorite dog question. But
it's not even like, what's your favorite operating system? It's just a dog.
I did have one in here about what's your favorite firewall, but I overlooked that one in favor of the dog breed one. But, looking back, maybe the firewall one would have been better.
Well, my final question is not going to be what's your favorite firewall. It's what does the immediate future hold for you, Jack? What projects are you working on besides Darknet Diaries, or are you just laser focused on the podcast?
Yeah, I just made my 2026 goal list last week. I usually do it in December.
Good timing.
But I was like, oh, shoot, I forgot. So, for this year, I am going to be producing a second episode. And this episode is a whole new podcast, not an episode, a new podcast. And it's just a 5-part series. And it's got a story in there that somebody told me, which is by far the most insane, outrageous, wild, crazy, darkest story I've ever heard. And when I heard it, I was like, okay, hold on, back up. Let's do a second call and a third call and a fourth call and a fifth call. And I want to hear this in such detail in every corner. And so we talked for dozens of hours because it's just so insane. And so I put a lot of effort into this. And I feel like it's done, but I've given it to a couple people to preview, and they've got some notes. And so I've got to make some changes. I think the biggest one is that I didn't have the rights to some of the music that I like to put in there. So we're changing the music, but this is called, haven't even released the name of it yet, but the idea is a second show is coming out this year, and it's going to be good, and I can't wait to show you.
Awesome.
I've been saying that for years, honestly, and it's just now that I'm actually done with it that I can announce it. So I've actually announced it on my own show as well. So that's the only time, only in the last month or so, I've been telling my own fans.
Just needs a title.
But people ask me this, what's in the future, and I've been telling them I'm working on this. Honestly, I have. This show has been working on for the last 9 years, and it's just one of those that I keep trying to push it away. I'm like, no, that's not ever going to be told. That one can't be told. That's the show that cannot be told. But I won't let go. It's like an unlucky penny. It keeps coming back. And so I got to tell it.
Well, I mean, if it's released by the time this podcast gets released, we'll put it in a link in the description. But
my goal is to have it released before DEF CON.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see when this episode gets released. But yeah, otherwise we'll definitely. Well, we can update the description anyway. But yeah, awesome, Jack. Thank you so much for joining us. Please tell our listeners who have never heard of you before, which is probably a very, very, very small minority, where to find and follow you online.
Well, if you have a search engine, type in Darknet Diaries into the search engine. And I'm pretty sure I'm on every search engine, so see what you find.
Perfect. We'll leave some links in the video description as well. Thank you all for listening. I've been Tib3rius, he's been Andy Swift, we've been joined by Jack Rhysider, and this has been Across the Pondcast. You can find all of our social media links in the episode description or on acrossthepondcast.net, and we will see you next time.
Goodbye.